Hello everyone, Howard here. Today I'm looking at a slightly different type of watch. I've done a few other chronographs fairly on the larger size, but today it's the GP, Girard-Perregaux Laureato 42mm chronograph. The Laureato, I think, the signature design is sort of a octagonal shape for the case. It's a very nicely built watch. I mean, that's my first reaction when I first saw this watch in person. Well, it's well built. It's like a well engineered piece. That's what I'm looking for. It's definitely a little bit on the bigger, heavier side. I wouldn't say super big. 42 millimeters, it's standard for chronograph. But what I'm impressed is it's only 12.1 millimeters thick. That is impressive. Very few brands have a chronograph at 12 millimeters, thing, and that's impressive. And that's gonna make it look a lot nicer on a smaller wrist like mine when I try it later on. End to end, it's a little bit bigger. Lug-to-lug is 50 end to end here, but because it's integrated, so if you look at the integrated bracelet, the edge of the first link is slightly over 50. So just keep that in mind. The lug-to-lug is slightly on the larger side. The bracelet, the widest part at the case is 25 millimeters, and the most narrow part at the clasp is about 17.5. So it's quite a bit of taper, mostly on the first link. Again, it's 904L stainless steel throughout the watch, all SS, no precious material. It's a silver dial with black sub-dial. The dial kind of reminds me a little bit of the waffle type of dial of the AP, but they're not entirely the same. This looks like a little bit of it's a rectangle, but with some triangle reflection on there. Again, it's got the hour, minute, seconds. Here's the regular running seconds hand. A date. The date window letter is a little bit on the lighter side, so I'm getting the watch very close to the video camera so you can see, but even at a small distance, this 28 may not be easy to see. You got the 30-minute counter, 12-hour counter. So right now the chronograph is actually running. Let me just stop it, press it. You have to actually do it a little bit harder. A light press is not going to work. So the counter went back to 0. If you want to restart the chronograph, press it. The chronograph second is going to move, and this is going to move. Overall, I would say that in terms of the polish, it's not really polished, but the nickel finish has a little bit more shininess. Like you can see, this is mostly nickel finish, non-polished, but it does have a little bit more reflecting ability on the top of the bezel, on the side here, and the outside link. I wouldn't say outside link. It's an H link, sort of the H design with a polished centerpiece. Double. I think the website says, it's triple folding. GP top, press both to release. It's fairly solid made piece here, but I feel like with overall heftiness of the watch, maybe this piece can be a little bit thicker. Bottom here, Girard-Perregaux Laureato Chronograph, 100 meter, 330 feet. Very impressive. Well built. I mean, especially if you look at this side design. It's not the traditional, like most companies, with a smooth, round, taper down. This is very straight, and boom, a hard cut, and here's a hard cut. And it's integrated very well if you look at the design. Overall design looks very seamless, just like one piece. Caliber GP03300, 46-hour power reserve. Slightly on the lower side, I think, in today's standard. Most watches probably have around 70. 28,800 vibration per hour, so that's 4 hertz, pretty good. What else? Let me put on my wrist to see how this Laureato chronograph look on my wrist. So again, end to end is definitely at the limit of my wrist. I'll insert a photo. You can probably see there's just tiny bit space from the edge of the watch to edge of my wrist. Same here. But again, the key thing as I said in all of my watches, if the watch is not very thick, like when you tighten it, look, it basically eliminates the gap here. And that's extremely critical for me. So when I look at a watch, if it's thicker than 13.5, unfortunately, it's not going to really work for me because my wrist, you can see, I may have a little bit width, but it's very skinny from top to bottom. It's like, thin this way. It's not a round shape where it's more even. So for super tall watch, you can see, like if the watch is very tall, it's going to look so tall in relationship to the height of my wrist. That's why personally, I don't like thick watches, right? But this one, it's big, but 12 millimeter thick is actually pretty impressive. I mean, when I first saw this, I think, oh, wow, it's going to be 13.8 or 14 millimeters thick. Not at all. Not at all. And I think, the challenge is, I'm not sure how many, these watches like GP or, I did a chronograph for Chapeau. I think it's one of their top, the dial had a blue eagle eye, extremely beautiful design a while ago. These watches are not cheap. They're very expensive. So this one, MSRP in the US is $18,600, 18600. I mean, if you're living in the States in the US, you have to pay a tax. It's a $20,000 watch. The high tax states like, California, that's sales tax could be close to 11%. So, I mean, yeah, maybe you can get some discount on these brands. But overall, like this one, the Chapeau one, at this price range, I just feel it's a very difficult competition. I mean, you can buy a Speedmaster for a lot less. Obviously, I think, like I said earlier, the construction of this is first class, right? It's elite. It's really, really well made. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The moment you hold this in the hand, you can tell it's a high horology product. But at 18,600, I mean, it's tough, right? And I think for most consumers, if I'm looking for a first chronograph, $8,000 Speedmaster might be more justifiable, if you know what I mean, price-wise, around less than 50% of this. But if you can get a bigger discount on this piece, maybe, and you want to look different, right? Everyone has a Speedmaster or Daytona or whatever. If you want something different like the Chapeau one I did or this one, definitely, you don't see this often. It's a lot more rare. Again, this is the Girard-Perregaux Laureato Chronograph, 42 millimeters. Beautiful piece, well made. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.